Hello everybody, you're watching Your Favourite Guitar Teacher. I'm Liam and today I'm going to tell you my top 10 tips for playing guitar. So we're going to start with tip number 1, keeping your fingers close to the fret wire. Now the reason for this, if they're too far away from the fret wire, you get what's called fret buzz that sounds like this. And what's happening is there's not enough tension pushing down on this wire to cause the vibration from this point here down to this point here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our fingers as close to the fret wire as we can. By as close to the fret wire, I don't mean over the top, because again, you get this fret buzz. So it's just behind, but as close to the fret wire as possible. So when we're playing a G chord, we're going to have as first finger really close to the fret wire, as second finger nice and close to the fret wire, our third finger nice and close to the fret wire, and our little finger nice and close to the fret wire. You get a really nice clear sound. Tip number 2 is about persistence when playing guitar. So a lot of people give up way too easily because playing guitar is hard. And the majority of people want to play really quickly or really well as soon and as quick as possible. Now a good analogy for this would be comparing the guitar to going to the gym. Now when you first go to the gym, you're not going to grab the weights that are the same weight as a car and try and lift them. You're going to start with the really small weights and slowly and gradually build your way up to the big weights. Now this is exactly the same on guitar. If at first you can't do a full G chord, you're going to start with a really simplified version of it until you can build your way up and your fingers up to playing the full G chord. Now there's nothing wrong with this, it's just the process of learning that we have to go through when we first start playing an instrument. Now you'll build your way up, like I said, to playing the full G chord, and the whole process of learning to play guitar is like this. You never really truly learn everything about guitar. You are always learning and can always learn something new. Tip number 3, you're going to want to relax both of your hands. So with your fretting hand, instead of pushing down as hard as you possibly can, you're going to do it nice and gently, and it becomes a lot easier and more fluid to play. So I'm only just pushing down on the strings. And the same applies for your picking hand. Instead of picking like this, really hard, you're going to do it quite gently. And not only do you get a better sound, it's a lot easier to play like this. Tip number 4 is the angle at which you sit with your guitar. Now a lot of people sit with it at a straight angle to the body, and this hand, it's really hard to get your hand in a nice comfortable position when you're sat like this. So a lot of people tend to sit with the guitar at an angle to their body. This way you can get this hand at a really comfortable angle when you're playing. Tip number 5 relates to when you're sliding your fingers along the fretboard on the guitar. So a lot of people say we're sliding from the 2nd fret on the B up to the 7th fret on the B. What a lot of people are going to do is they're going to follow the finger along the fretboard while they're sliding. Now the problem with this is if you're sliding really quickly, it's too quick to see where you need to stop. So a lot of the time you end up going too far up or not far enough. So this tip is to look at where you're sliding to, not where you're sliding from. So if I'm starting on the 2nd fret on this B string and I'm going to slide to the 7th fret on the B, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look directly at the 7th fret. Play that, and then as soon as my finger gets there, I can stop. And it's a lot easier than doing it the other way. And the same goes for the opposite way around. If I'm sliding down the neck, instead of looking at the 7th fret where I'm starting, I'm going to be looking at the 2nd fret, which makes it a lot easier. Tip number 6 is specifically relating to bends when you're bending the strings on the guitar. Now a lot of people are going to try and bend with one finger. And it's quite difficult because of the tension of the strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 3 fingers. So generally your 3rd finger is going to be on the fret that you want to bend, and then your other 2 fingers sit on the 2 frets behind your 3rd finger. And this makes it a lot easier to bend the strings. Tip number 7 is all about this hand, and there's going to be certain times when you're going to want to drop your wrist down so you can get a big stretch on the guitar. Now if you're playing with your hand like this, which there's no problem with, you can't stretch your fingers very far, whereas dropping this wrist down enables you to stretch a lot further across the fretboard. Tip number 8, if there's a difficult section that you can't master in a song, you're going to want to slow it down by loads and just go over and over that same section. For example, if there's a pull-off section to a bend and then to a hammer-on, what you want to do is slow it right down into individual little components. And then you're going to practice going from component or section 1 to section 2 over and over and over and over, and then section 1, then 2, but then you're going to add section number 3 to the end, a little like this. And once you've mastered all 3 slowly, you're going to gradually increase your speed. Tip number 9. Now when you're picking, a lot of the times you're going to want your hand to rest on the bridge, which makes it a lot more accurate on which strings you're playing your plectrum. If you've got it floating about, it's quite difficult to judge where your hand is in relation to the guitar. Now if your hand's on the bridge, it makes it 10 million times easier. And you no longer have to look where your hand is in relation to the strings. And finally, tip number 10 is about those times when you just can't do something and you get really frustrated. The best thing to do is put your guitar down, take a break, and come back to it later on with a fresh mindset that you can do it if you slow it down and persevere. And playing an instrument is really enjoyable. So if you do start to get frustrated, like I said, put your guitar down, go and have a drink, have something to eat, watch some TV, and come back to it once you've calmed down. And those are my 10 tips for playing guitar. I hope you've really enjoyed these 10 tips. Please like, subscribe and share. It really would mean a lot. You've been watching Your Favourite Guitar Teacher. I'm Liam. See you all next time.